I always try to be careful of examples that might come off as too political, but a few weeks ago there was a big piece in the news that this government agency had an internal memo that was leaked. Of course, everything gets leaked anymore, nothing's secret. But this memo was warning that what they referred to as radical traditional Catholics needed to be watched out for because they might be a threat to domestic terrorism. Now, how this story lands with us, it depends on our own preferences or whatever, and of course we know that over the course of history, religion has always been misused by some. But what sort of, and they got in trouble just more for lack of professionalism, a little too much conjecture, maybe a little too much generalization. But for me, why this sticks with me, because it sort of brings up an interesting spiritual question. Like, is Jesus a threat? Is Jesus dangerous? And of course, we're like, well, no, because he's Jesus. But our gospel today, it seems like Jesus is the cause of a lot of trouble. So he opens up the eyes of this man who was born blind, and then all sorts of chaos ensues. So first of all, we have the Pharisees that are arguing amongst themselves, like, no, I think he's this big fraud and sinner. No, I think, how can that be? Because he healed this person, and it says there was division among them. So Jesus' healing caused this division among the Pharisees. They bring in the guy's parents and try to get them involved, and they're like, whoa, don't get us involved. Like, he can talk, just... they were just sort of caught up in fear, wondering what's this going to mean for us. So Jesus sort of led to some trouble for his parents in some way. And of course, for the actual man who had been born blind, as he deals with the Pharisees, they ridicule him, they yell at him, and eventually they just throw him out of the synagogue, just the place of community and worship. Jesus is causing all sorts of problems and trouble in our gospel today, which I think goes back to the question, is Jesus a threat? Is Jesus dangerous? I think we need to be able to answer yes in a certain way. Because Jesus came, of course, to cure all people of darkness and blindness. We heard in our second reading, St. Paul remind the Ephesians that they were once darkness, but through baptism, they were now light in the Lord, called to walk in goodness and righteousness and truth. Sometimes as we go about our Christian way, we don't always walk in that. We just we can get a little lost sometimes and a little wayward. The Lord comes to our rescue, and he looks to overturn those things that are not us as children of God, as children of the light. So Jesus is a threat to pride and selfishness. He's a threat to greed and envy. He's a threat to resentment and bitterness. He's a threat to sin and shame. He's a threat to cynicism. He's a threat to fear and self-doubt. He's a threat to all of those things that really keep us from loving God with our mind, heart, soul, and strength, and our neighbor as ourself. And of course, we see in all that that's a good thing, because the Lord loves us too much to leave us in those places, and has come to overturn and remove all that keeps us from walking in the light as children of God. This time of Lent is an especially important time for us to recognize those and allow the Lord to continue to bring us to a newer life. So as we encounter Christ here in the Mass today, let his presence be for us a healing balm and a font of grace, so that he continue to build us up into the new creation that we are.